The mucus is actually a germination inhibitor, so you want to get as much of that stuff off as possible. This stuff can be pretty stinky, I'll warn you right now. The reason I label every seed saving that I do is because well, things are definitely winding down in the gardening season. Just about everything here is dead. We still have some kale going, carrots still to harvest, Brussels sprouts that the moose didn't come to eat this year. We didn't really get much in the way of Brussels sprouts though. It's pretty dismal really. We'll try them again next year. But it is time to start getting some of our seed savings in. I think this is something that is particularly important right now, given the situation with the global food supply, rising costs of food, various things like that. We've been saving seeds for a number of years now. Just about everything that we grow comes from saved seed. And that works to our advantage in more ways than one. First, we don't have to source new seed every year. Although we do bring in some new varieties every year, we don't need to depend on outside sources for seeds every single year. The last couple late winter, early spring seasons for purchasing seeds were pretty tough on a lot of folks because they do rely on outsourcing their seeds for their gardens, for their food. We don't worry about that. We continually add to our seed bank. Our seed bank is very important to us. So one way to get around that, save your own seeds. Another reason that seed saving is a really good idea is the produce that you grow becomes acclimated to your environment, to where you live. We're in Northern Ontario, so some varieties just will not produce here, or they'll produce, but they'll never ripen, which can be a problem living in the north. The varieties we grow are slowly becoming accustomed to where we live. Every year, things ripen up a little bit earlier, and yields get a little bit bigger every year. And third, if we find particular traits in the varieties that we grow that we want to preserve, we can continue breeding those in order to bring more of that trait out. Maybe we have a particularly hot pepper that gets hotter every year, or maybe we have a cherry tomato that gets sweeter every year. We can narrow that down per plant and continue to grow that particular trait that we really like. In the springtime, we grow a large amount of seedlings. And part of the reason for that is that we sell the seedlings to some other local vegetable growers in the area. So it's pretty important to us that the varieties that we grow in order to sell produce around here. Our seeds are also available to be purchased on the website. If you do end up visiting and you don't see what you're looking for yet, just keep checking back because it will probably show up. Some seeds, like kale, are particularly easy to save. Really any of the brassica seeds, the brassica family, very easy to save. So I'm not going to focus on those in this video. Sunflower seeds, another very simple seed to save. Just let them dry in the head and remove them from the head. Similarly, onions are quite an easy seed to save. You just remove them, that's about it, and then replant them next year. I'm not going to focus too much on these either. What we will focus on are cucumbers. You can see this vine here is completely dead, and we have a very ripe cucumber here, and another one down in there. We always have an abundance of tomatoes, so I'll show you what we do with those as well. We are just getting the greenhouse set up now for winter growing, but we have some peppers in here. So we'll grab some of those, and we'll grab some cayenne peppers. We'll talk about the greenhouse in another video very soon. Things are just getting started in here. We have been keeping the fire going a couple nights when it got down below zero. We'll get started with what is probably the easiest seed to save that I'm going to show you. Just peppers. You want to pick a nice ripe pepper. Green pepper seeds will probably germinate, but they're likely to be less viable. So we always go with nice ripe peppers. This is a sweet red pepper. Just going to remove the top. See the seeds inside there. Pop it in half just like so. So there's your seeds. That's what we want to save. All we're going to do is scrape these into a little container here. Get as many of them off of there as you can. And the other side. If you're doing hot peppers like this, like jalapenos, you may want to wear gloves. They are pretty hot. Any chunks of the membrane you can just remove, little pieces like that, or just leave it in, take it out once everything's dry. And we'll set this aside and we'll let this dry just to make sure these are not going to go moldy or possibly germinate in the package due to the moisture that is in them. Pop a little label in your container so we don't forget what it is. These are peppers from about 4 days ago, 5 days ago, pepper seeds that have been drying. These are nicely dried up now. Nice and crispy, there's no moisture left in there. So we're going to transfer these into their new home in an envelope. The paper just allows them to breathe, keeps the moisture down in the package. So all we're going to do is pop these straight into the envelope. Label your envelope, and these are now ready to go and live with your other seeds. That's how we save seeds from all of our larger pepper varieties: jalapenos, orange peppers, red peppers, green peppers. When it comes to the smaller peppers, like cayenne, these are a little bit of a pain to cut open and remove the seeds from. So we use a sewing needle and some thread to dry the cayenne peppers. And it's pretty simple. You just pop straight through, pull it all the way to the end. Your next pepper, same thing, all the way through, all the way through. Carrying on with as many cayenne peppers as you might have. This works with a lot of the long, skinny, extremely thin membraned peppers. And again, you want to be using ripe peppers. All of your peppers should be ripe, just to ensure that the seeds are going to be viable. Seeds from green peppers will germinate if you're lucky. We don't like to take that risk. And you have a nice long string of peppers ready to be hung and dried. These dry out within about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, just hanging anywhere. We have a wood stove, so it tends to be quite dry in here anyways, so maybe they dry a little quicker for us. Just leave them hanging until they're crispy. These are cayenne peppers that were previously dried, so I'm going to show you how to open these up and get the seeds out. Shaking it, you can probably hear the seeds rattling around in there, so it's quite simple to get them out. Just pop the pepper open. Fiddle around with the pepper a little bit. And your seeds will just fall straight out of there. What's left over from your cayenne peppers, you can either just keep them in this shape, put them in a jar, and use them to spice up some of your foods, or you can do what we like to do, pop them into a coffee grinder, make yourself some cayenne powder. Delicious. Some nice heat right there. You can also just leave the seeds in the dried pepper shell until you're ready to plant. It really depends on what you want to do. In our case, I'm transferring them into an envelope. Cayenne, ready for next year's planting. Tomatoes need slightly different preparation to save the seeds. You can just take them out and put them on a piece of paper towel or something like that, but we prefer to ferment our seeds to get the mucus off. The mucus is actually a germination inhibitor, so you want to get as much of that stuff off as possible. Tomatoes, small mason jar with a ring, some paper towel. All we're going to do is cut the tomato in half. Obviously the seeds are inside there. Those are what we want to save. So we're going to squeeze these seeds out into the mason jar. This is a Roma variety of tomato. So we've gotten most of the seeds out. Move on to the other side. Squeeze. Try not to drop it in the jar twice. Just get as many out as you can. Next tomato. This one isn't quite as ripe. The seeds might not come out as easily. We will see. It's actually not too bad, but in the event that the seeds are giving you troubles coming out, just a small little spoon scraping inside of there should help you out. Your tomatoes are fine to eat once you've removed the seeds. Now we're just going to add in a little bit of water into the jar, swish it around a little bit, label your paper towel, pop it on top, use your ring just to keep that in place, and just set it on the counter for a few days. Cucumbers. Same idea as the tomatoes. You want overripe, gigantic, gross-looking cucumbers to save your seeds from. We're going to slice the cucumber lengthwise. Get it open right up. You can see all the nice developed seeds inside of there. These are the seeds for our famous bread and butter pickle recipe. Delicious, delicious cucumbers. We're going to scrape these seeds into a temporary container just for a couple minutes here. And get as many of those seeds out of there as you can. And again, you could just dry these on some paper towel if you want to. But getting that mucus layer off is a great idea. We only grow one variety of cucumber here, so we don't have to worry too much about cross-pollination with cucumber varieties. The reason we only grow one type of cucumber here is that we mainly only use them for pickling. These cucumbers do make for great salad cucumbers as well, and we just don't see the need to grow more than one variety. We'll just use a canning funnel to pour these into a 1 liter quart-sized mason jar. And again, we'll just add a little bit of water in there just to make sure they're floating around in the liquid. Same as we did with the tomatoes, we'll put a piece of paper towel on top, hold it in place with the ring, and this just allows breathability. We will put that on the counter for a few days. So we have here the Roma from today and the cucumber for today. These are just going to sit for a few days, possibly a week, and eventually they will look like this. Every once in a while you can take the container and swish it around a bit. Same with the tomatoes. These are now all ready to be separated out from the liquid. And to do that, we're just going to need a metal strainer or something that you can pour the liquid and seed mixture into. Start with our aromas. This stuff can be pretty stinky, I'll warn you right now. So there's what it's looking like. Kind of gross. Just pour that into your strainer. Make sure you get all the seeds out of the jar. Crank up your faucet and start rinsing. There are your tomato seeds, completely removed from that mucous membrane. Now we need to dry these. I find the best way to dry these is just a little Tupperware container, some paper towel in the bottom. Gently scrape the seeds out onto the paper towel. These will take anywhere from a few days to possibly up to a week to completely dry. You'll find that you have to swap out this paper towel a couple times, which is fine. The paper towel there is just really to initially soak up the moisture that is on the outside of these seeds, getting them rapidly drying. Same idea with the fermented cucumber seeds. Pop the top off. Yummy. Look at that. Pour it in to the strainer. This one's really stinky. Get them rinsed off. Give it a little shake, get some of that water out of there. And into a slightly larger vessel to dry them out. These as well, you're going to have to just let sit out to dry for a few days, possibly up to a week again, at which point in time they will be ready to be put into their envelopes. These will all just sit here on the counter until they've completely dried out. You'll want to monitor them, make sure that you're moving them around a little bit every day, even a couple times a day. Swap out that paper towel if it's staying too moist. The pepper seeds will dry very quickly for you. Once we've reached the point where the seeds have dried enough to be packaged, they can go into their envelopes. These have been drying for quite a while now. Nice dry seeds, so we'll pop those into some envelopes. I like to label each of my seed saving separately. So this is the third harvest right here of cucumber seeds that I did. It's going to go into the envelope labeled Cuc number 3, and I'll explain why in just a minute. Pop those in. Same with the tomatoes. This is Roma number 2. Go into the envelope labeled Roma number 2. So that's what your tomato seeds look like once they are completely dried out. Quite like what you would buy in the seed stores. Sometimes they stick together. They're very easy to get apart though, you just kind of play with them a little bit. Nice looking seeds. Pop those in there. Three types of seed packaged up, ready to go wherever you like to store your seeds. The reason I label every seed saving that I do is because I germinate them to make sure that the seeds are viable. So in here we have the cucumber number 1, which we can clearly see is viable seed. So we know that that particular envelope can be marked as yes, viable. Cucumber number 2, obviously, viable. Roma number 1. They all germinated. And our sweet red pepper number 1 germinated. Looks like we have one seed there that did not germinate. This one's a little bit slow going. But success, germination. So each one of these packages can now get a check mark because we know that these are viable seeds. Hopefully that's a little bit useful for you guys in saving some of your seeds. As we go forward, we'll get more seed saving videos up. Come on, Chantrell, I'm trying to talk here. As we go forward, I'll try and get more seed saving videos up. The majority of seeds are really simple to save. It's good to get started, get your seed bank started, start saving your seeds this year. See ya.